Hello, lovely people of Elia Montessori. You are welcome to today's edition of our online studies, and it's going to be interesting. And I hope you are all doing well as I am. Yes, good to know. Today we are going to talk about subtraction word problem. Subtraction word problem. Subtraction word problem. And let's circle this word as word. Subtraction word problem. Do you remember the Kukua story? Then let me tell you about the story about Kukua's mother. One sunny day, Kukua's mother decided to prepare jollof rice and chicken for her family. She had 15 tomatoes in her kitchen, so she decided to use 10 tomatoes and left the rest to prepare soup the next day. She had 15 pieces of tomatoes in her kitchen, so she decided to use 10 tomatoes and left the rest to prepare soup the next day. Now, let's write the subtraction sentence for the story. The total number of tomatoes in the kitchen was 15. And how many did he use to prepare the jollof? She used 10. And after using the 10, how many was left? So this is how we represent subtraction sentence straight away. Then you look for the remaining of tomatoes that were in the kitchen, which will be 5. But today our focus will be on subtraction word problem. Subtraction word problem. Example that we cited about the Kukua's mother story was a word problem. But we have some keywords. Whenever you see them in the story, indicates that this story is a subtraction word problem. And these are the words. Number 1. Whenever you see how many. Another one is how much. Another one is subtract. Another one is take away. Another one is remains. And the last but not the least is make a difference. Make a difference. These are the keywords that indicate that a story is a subtraction word problem. Now let's move into solving problems. There are 6 birds on my mom's dry line. Then 5 birds fly away. How many birds stay on the dry line? You see, what I initially said that it indicates a story to be a subtraction word problem. Now we are seeing one here. How many? It says how many birds are on the dry line. Let's move into the steps that I was talking about. The first step is you write the total number of the objects in presentable form that you will understand. According to the story, the total number of the birds were 6. So you can choose to represent the birds with dots, which will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's also another way that you can represent it, and it will be according to how you easily understand. Somebody can also choose to represent it according to how he or she can easily understand. And you can use strokes, as in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You can also choose to represent it in a small circle form, which will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And last but not the least, you can also represent it in a dash form, and it will be like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But I prefer to use the stroke ones for today's lesson. So that is the first step that you need to do after reading your subtraction word problem. The next step is you will cross out the number of objects that were taken away. According to the story, the total number of birds that flew away from the line were 5. So we will cross out the 5 birds from our strokes, which will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is also the second step that you will do. And the next step, which happens to be the third one, is to write the number left not crossed as the remainder or answer to the question. So how many strokes here that we've not crossed? It is only 1. So it will be our answer, which is 1. So this is how a subtraction word problem is done. Now let's look at how we represent this in a subtraction sentence. So the subtraction sentence for the problem that we read is: the total number of birds were 6. How many birds flew away? They were 5. So you take away the 5 from the 6. And after taking 5 from the 6, it is left with how many? 1. So this is how the subtraction sentence is represented. Let's look at another example. And the problem is, make a difference between 9 pencils and 3 pencils. The question is 9 pencils and 3 pencils. It is a subtraction word problem because you have to make a difference between them. That makes it a subtraction word problem. Now let's use the 3 steps that we use to solve the subtraction word problem to also solve this question. The first step is to represent the total number in a presentable form that you will understand. And the presentable form that you will understand is the strokes. So how many strokes are you going to draw for the total number of pencils? 9. So let's draw the stroke for the 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Now we are done with the first step, which is supposed to represent the total number of pencils. The next step, which is step 2, is to cross out the number that we are supposed to make the difference between the 9. And what number is that? It is number 3, which means you are going to cross out 3 strokes from the 9 strokes. So help me to cross it out. 1, 2, 3. This is the second step. And the last step, which is the step 3, we have to write the number of objects that is not crossed out. So let's count how many objects that is not crossed out. It will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Then you write it. So that is how we present the subtraction word problem. But after you are done with the subtraction word problem, you need to also represent it in a subtraction sentence. And it will be also represented as 9, which happens to be the total number of the pencils, minus the 3, which also happens to be the number that we have to make the difference between 9. And after making the difference, we found out that the difference is 6. So that is subtraction word problem. Let's look at another example. Subtract 5 from 9. Subtract 5 from 9. Is it a word problem? Yes, it is a word problem. Why is it a subtraction word problem? Because of subtract. Let's use the step that we use to solve subtraction word problem. And the first step is you will present it in a way that you best understand. And what are you supposed to use to? The options are many, but I'm going to use the small circle. It says that we should take away or subtract 5 from 9. So the total number is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. The next one is we should cross out the number that we're supposed to subtract from the total number. And that number is 5. So let's cross it out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And the last step, which is the step 3, is to write the number left not crossed. So how many objects here left not crossed? Let's count it. 1, 2, 3, 4. So when you subtract 5 from 9, it will be left with 4. When you finish with the word problem, you are not done. You need to also represent it in a subtraction sentence, or you have to represent it as a subtraction sentence. And you represent it as the total number, which is 9, minus the number that we subtracted from the 9, which is 5. And after taking 5 from the 9, it is left with how many? 4. So you have to represent it as a subtraction sentence. Today we talked about subtraction word problem. And how would you see that a story is a subtraction word problem? We talked about some keywords that determine a story as a subtraction word problem. And the keywords are how many, how much, subtract, take away, how many remains, and make a difference. I hope you enjoyed your class today, and we shall meet again. Until then, enjoy the rest of your day. Bye-bye.